So you and Talib Kweli, how did that start?
All right. It was a Tuesday morning, I believe. I'm watching my son. I'm sitting there smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee outside. I go on Twitter. I see Kweli arguing with somebody attached to the Remedy conversation he was having. I don't really know what they're talking about, but there's people clearly trolling him, and he's responding to everybody. And I was not really aware that Kweli did that, or how much he tweeted, or how much of a fucking lunatic he is on the internet. But I'm watching this, and fucking I just asked him. I said, like, why do you respond to all these fucking people, like these random people talking shit? And his reply to me was, "I'll fucking say whatever the fuck I want, bitch." And I was like, "Oh, all right. I got your bitch right here." And then I went off on him. I was like, who you calling a fucking bitch, you fucking nerd? I'll fuck you up. You just got off tour with my people. Don't act like you're fucking tough. And it went from there. And it just immediately went from there. And then he started talking wild, calling me names and shit, calling me a bitch and whatever. And I just kept going back and forth with him, talking shit. Like, it had nothing to do with the white people or white. I don't really care. I don't give a what his opinion on white people in hip hop is. Couldn't care less.
But he lumped you in with the whole Remedy thing, though, right?
Well, that's what he does. He likes to make it. He's a fucking nerd. He likes to have his allies come, his little followers come and try to do their dirty work for him. But that really had nothing to do with it. It's because he called me a fucking bitch when I asked him, why you respond to so many fucking troll nerds? Like, what the fuck?
Right. And so then he writes an article on medium.com called white fragility kind of thing. And
where he thought I was just misguided. He didn't even basically say I was guilty of what he was accusing other people of. If you read it, he's just like, I think he was just kind of misguided or some bullshit. He said, he's a fucking goofball. Who knows what that dork had to say?
He said that at one point, Poison Pen and Tech went to his house and tried to squash the beef on behalf of you. But
see, that's not exactly the truth. There's some truth to that, but not like that. There's way more to it than that. They were out in fucking LA for a gig. And when this was going on, unbeknownst to me, I wasn't told that this was happening. It's probably a couple weeks into it. We're just going back and forth, and it's getting nasty. Because, dude, you talk shit to me on the internet, I'm fucking rotten. I have no scruples when it comes to talking shit. I will fucking pick you apart. I'll say the nastiest shit I can think of. And I enjoy it. I think it's funny. But I guess he lived in LA. He split time between LA and fucking in New York, but he was in LA. He lived out there or somewhere outside of it, whatever. Tech and Pen are out for some gig. And Pen calls him and is like, yo, where you at, man? And Kweli doesn't know they're out there. And he's like, oh, I'm not in the hood, talking about Brooklyn. And he's like, I know. He's like, where you at? But, yo, we in LA. We coming through. So they went to his crib. And Penn basically was presented it to him if you want the fair one with Diabolic, he'll f you up if you're down. And Kweli was pretty much like, no, I don't want that. Kweli's a fucking pussy. He doesn't fight or anything like that. But I guess Penn kind of, I wouldn't say pressed him, but kind of put him in his place a little bit and was like, this needs to end. Now, mind you, I don't know this meeting is happening. So the whole time the meeting's going on while they're at his crib talking, I'm fucking making fun of him on Twitter in real time, talking shit, right? So it went from Kweli being like, all right, we should squash it, it's all good, to him opening his phone, to me fucking saying nasty shit, So it just didn't It didn't end. And then I find out afterwards that they went there. I was a little pissed off that they went there, to be honest with you. I didn't want them to. In theory. I was like, if you go there, why don't you just beat the fuck out of them? Why make peace with them? I don't want to make peace. Fuck it. You were talking wild shit. Just smack the shit out of you. What's up?
Is it true that you spoke on his wife and Tech apologized for that?
Yeah, well, I mean, things got, if anyone who followed me and Kweli on Twitter, it was just a fucking massive shit talk back and forth. Then I started memeing him, which was a lot of fun. It was funny. It was ridiculous. Mind you, he didn't call me a Nazi or white supremacist until after I released that track and I bodied him. Then he had to break out the big guns for that. Then I became a Nazi white supremacist. And that's what he was trying to brand me as, because he can't rap with me. But he at one point started talking about my kids. Not my kids, my daughter. I guess he didn't know I had a son. He started talking about my daughter, making references to something. So basically, I took that as a green light to talk about anything I wanted. I was like, on Twitter, I said, we're talking about people's kids now? Okay, all bets are off. Cool. So I found his wife, DJ EQ, I believe her name is. It's EQUE, I believe her name was. Well, I don't know. I'm sure she's a nice lady. And I start being like, yeah, what's up? You trying to get nutted on? And like, I just go straight vulgar with it. I was like, yo, Kweli, this your wife? I was like, how would you feel if I nutted on her face, type of thing? You know, it's not.
Before then, though, it didn't reach that level where you would have thought about going after his family or anything like that.
Nah, not really. No.
But were you angry enough to want to fight him already at that point? Before,
I mean, in theory, I would have yoked him up or something. You know, I would have gave him a smack.
But mentioning your kids went to another level.
Yeah, but it was never like, me and Swave contemplated running up on him at Brooklyn Bowl a couple times. We talked about it, but like, you don't get any points for strong arming Talib Kweli. You know what I mean? Talib Kweli is a nerd. It's well known. He's a fucking bitch. He doesn't fight. The things I said about him were true when we were going back and forth about hiding behind girls in the club when fights broke out. All these things are true. They all happened. Not that I care. I'm not, you don't have to be a fighter. You don't have to be a tough dude. There's plenty of people who can kick my fucking ass. Kweli just doesn't happen to be one of them. So he shouldn't really talk like that, like say really vicious things and try to brand people as white supremacists. Like anyone has time to be a white supremacist,
So you mentioned his wife in that situation. What is his response?
He didn't like that. And then I saw how upset that made him. He would quote tweet me, he's attacking my wife. Look at this fucking Nazi attacking this black woman, doing the typical fucking shit. So I just was like, I'm going to keep doing this. So I kept doing that. And it is kind of deep, though, how it goes. It's pretty funny. So he just went on. I started making, not I didn't make them, but people I know were like, yo, I got memes for you. And they were good, like some of the ones I posted. And I would just fuck with him. I fuck with his fans. And it seemed very frustrating for them because, like, most of the time, Kweli dogpiles people. Like, he has a big following on there. They're all fucking morons. They're very woke like he is. So they just jump on people. You know how Twitter is. They'll just attack people. And a lot of times when that's happening to people, they apologize. Which is what you should not do. Never apologize. Fuck that. Just say fuck you. Stick to your guns. You're better off. And that was very frustrating for him. I've come to find out that I don't break. And I don't know how long into it or the timeline, because this went on for like a year and off and on. Like it would stop for a little while, then it would start back up, and we would just keep going. But after I dissed him on the record, it heated up because he did not get the response out of his reply that he wanted, and like all hip hop had a poll, and it not unanimously, resoundingly said that he got crushed. And it wasn't a good look for him. But at some point, I don't know why. Me and Tuck are cool since all this happened more recently, but and we haven't really talked about this. We've sat down and talked and chopped shit up, and basically I established I don't really give a fuck why at this moment. Maybe we'll, in the future, tell me what was going on, or going through your fucking head, because I thought it was silly. But, my people like Tech and Penn, they didn't chime into this. They stayed out of it on the Twitter stuff, which I'm fine with. I don't need your help. It's fine with me. But then at some point, Tech added Kweli's wife and was like, I'm sorry, sister, for any of the disrespect you may have incurred and this and that. Didn't name me, but it was, it's clear what he was talking about. And then Kweli reposted it, and that kind of makes me look like a fucking dick, though, because you don't chime in this whole time. You have nothing to say, but then you apologize on behalf of me or something. What are you apologizing for? You didn't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? You're not my handler, bro. So more or less at that point, I was like, oh, you want technique? I was like, have them. Neither one of you could f with me rapping. That's where I went. I was like, you got him. I'll take you both right the f out. And I felt pretty disrespected by that. I was like, that's up. You're kind of a turncoat, the way I saw it. And we weren't cool for a while after that. We didn't speak much. And I definitely talked a lot of shit.
Yeah, you did.
I talked a lot of shit. And, I felt justified. I still feel justified in talking this shit. That shit bothered me. I've been very loyal for a long time, but as time goes on, and as time went on, I just stopped giving a fuck. You stop being annoyed by it. And Tech had reached out through other people, and it's like we're getting older, man. Then when Chino passed away, it kind of hit everybody, kind of reevaluating what's important in your life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of reconnected and started chopping it up a little, and got on the phone and started kind of just shooting the shit a little bit,
Right, because at one point you had said that you felt that he was being politically correct in the way of because he went on tour with Kweli, that it was
well, there's more to it. I could get to that. It was definitely industry politics involved in it. I just wasn't aware of them from the start. When that shit popped off, all right, not too long, a couple months before, there was an Immortal Technique Talib Kweli tour. Rebel Armz was on tour with him, and I wasn't on it. I had stopped touring because I kind of stopped going on the road with Tech and them because, we had bumped heads with Leaving Viper, and, so one of the last tours, me and G.I. Joe got into it. It was becoming real stressful, so I kind of stepped off. I was like, I got to get away from this. Because we're arguing, the tensions are high. Let me just back off and do my own thing for a little while, Not like I won't pop up at a New York show and spit a rhyme or something, but I'm just gonna, remove myself a little bit because things are getting a little too tense. And so I didn't know the goings on. I wasn't on that Kweli run. I was at the New York show. I rocked with Tech at the New York Kweli show. I've met Kweli, in passing. Oh, it's about, pleasure. I met, hung out in there. I drank. That's I was saying it on the Twitter thing. We were going back and forth. I was like, you met me. I drank all the beers, all the Heineken in that fucking place. I drank it. They had 15 Heinekens. I probably drank 9 of those motherfuckers that night. I smashed your beers. I was there. I was drinking your liquor. I was eating your food backstage. What are you talking about? Your man Nico, who's Kweli's artist on Kweli's label, called me a legend at your show walking up the stairs. He came up and specifically bowed to me and was like, Diabolic, you're a fucking legend, B. What up? You know, I was like, I'm not that far removed from you, kid. But what I've come to find out since, I found out a few years ago, but like I wasn't aware at the time, is that when the shit with me and Kweli started popping off and started getting a little fucking wild talking I guess Tech and Kweli share a booking agent, or did at the time. I don't know if they currently do. But there was like some big tours in maybe Australia, Europe. I don't know where it was exactly. But there was some big money on the table, a couple $100,000, you know, and things that ended up kind of falling apart because of this. Because Kweli's very sensitive. He's kind of a fucking cunt. But he basically nixed it and was like, that, you know, if you're not going to publicly do that, and that's why I personally, my opinion, I don't know if there's truth to it. I'm sure I'll find out in the future. But my opinion of it was that that's why Tech made the apology to try to salvage the touring money that was on the table. But at the time when I found that out, I was like, the f you need Kweli for? You pack shows by yourself, B. I'm sure the Kweli shows were pretty good. I'm sure they were with him and Tech. I'm sure they did well. Good combination of people to attract a good audience of people. But dude, you're doing fine. What the f you hurting for money now or something? Stop it. That's the way I looked at it. But at the same time, he's trying to do what he's trying to do. It's not my place to say what you should or shouldn't do for business, you know? Just the way I thought of it at the moment, you know? But so there was some industry politics to it. Nonetheless, I felt wronged. I felt like I was being shunned. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm just kidding. It just, you know, got out of control. Things were done. I thought that was a bonehead move on Tech's part. But then again, I'm sure he thought me and Kweli beefing on Twitter was a bonehead move on mine. So.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that you've been able to come to terms with more as you've reflected over the years and kind of gotten more far removed from that situation with Kweli. Right.
Yeah, I mean, dude, time passed, so obviously time is. I mean, I'm pretty Irish, so I could probably hold a grudge for a millennia if I wanted to, but you know, as you see people you know and love like Chino dying, it makes you reflect on other people who are dead that you were close with, like Pumpkinhead and Jay Arch, and people that you spent a fair amount of time with in awesome situations, touring, rocking crowds, partying, meeting chicks, doing whatever we were doing. And you look back and you're like, that shit's gone, and I'm never going to talk to them again. I'm never going to be able to share those times with them again. You know, but these people that I shared these same experiences with in a lot of ways, like Technique, like Penn, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, am I going to really stay alienated from them? And then just, what's the next thing happens? Somebody's going to fucking drop dead and you're never going to be able to be like, man, it wasn't that serious. Like we should have not like held on to this stupid shit. Because it is, the grand scheme of it, it's stupid shit. It's really not that important. You know, it's all about, you know, basically swallowing your pride and just being like, all right, I thought that was fucked up, but is it that serious? You know, I don't think it's that serious.
For sure.
You know? Like, it was never a point when I wasn't speaking to Tech and we had like, you know, I'm talking shit and there's like beef, quote unquote beef. It's not beef. It's not like I was going to run up on Tech and beat him up at a show or, you know, it was never a thought that crossed my mind. Like, even in my lives when I would be asked about it, I was like, dude, you ever beat up a friend? You ever been in a fist fight with one person that was your friend or former friend? It don't feel good. It felt justified when you did it, but after you're done beating up your friend, I've done it before. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. You know, like, it doesn't feel good to be at odds and have like old friends that you're not friends with because of things that you could solve. It doesn't feel good. It stays in the back of your mind. Especially when people like, we're kind of public people. in certain circles of hip hop nerds, and they keep asking you about it. You know what I'm saying? But you keep thinking, and as time goes on, as the scab gets picked, you start thinking like, you know what? This isn't that serious. Is it really worth never speaking to or doing a gig with or making a song with said person? You know, I don't think it's worth it. So I was kind of happy Tech reached out and was like, "Oh, you think maybe we piece this shit out? Like, what are you thinking?" I'm like, "Yeah, f it, why not? Let's see. Maybe we can. Why not?"
Was Penn trying to facilitate things during that time between you guys?
I don't know about facilitate. Wave definitely was. Wave was definitely trying to. I'm sure he was, but Penn was mad at me too. Penn was mad. He was pissed off at me. He was, and it wasn't because of what happened, like with Kweli or Tech or any of that. It was because I said to Penn when they went to Kweli's house, he was mad. And Penn's a big softy, man. He takes it personal if you say things. And I didn't think about how this made, like, I think he misunderstood what I meant when I said it. But I had said to him, I said, "What the f did you guys go to his crib for and not whoop his ass?" I was like, "You made me look weak." And Penn took that to heart. Like, I think he's like some weakling. Like, he took it like I was saying it like that, but that's not what I meant. What I meant, in my own twisted perception of how I view things, like, I looked at it like it made it look like I need you guys to fight my battles for me. It's basically what I meant.
Right.
You know, and I didn't want that. I didn't want that because I see how Kweli is. He'll take anything and try to tug at the thread to see what he can do. So I was like, "Why'd you go there? You didn't even tell me."
Well, we know with hip hop beefs, it's almost like WWE in the way that narratives are pushed and the storylines and stuff like that, how people can use things. So I see from your perspective of how like he was trying to turn that, you know what I mean? To be like,
yeah. And it's like, you know, just give me his fucking number or tell me where he's going to be and I'll go kick the fucking shit out of him. That's how I looked at it. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll solve this real quick. I'll run up on him. I was like, I mean, Penn did warn him. He's like, "Yo, what do you think?" You know, he's like, "Bolic's the loose cannon out of our bunch. He's the one that I got to talk off the ledge sometimes. Like, he's the one who wants to resort to violence sometimes." He's just like, it. You know, I've definitely changed in that manner, but like, I don't know. We are in this WWE world. I know it's just, you know, hip hop's just a giant pissing contest a lot of times. So if that's what it is, that's what it is, you know? Not to mention, he had his people threatening to slit my face with a box cutter, you know?
"Oh, for real?"
Like, yeah, they were threatening me all the time on Twitter. I would laugh at them.
Like his fans or his legitimate,
no,
like
people? His fucking people, bro. Who I ended up being cool-ish with. They thought I was funny. But, like, you ever see Uncle Seth on Math Alpha's podcast? You ever see him talk?
Right.
That's Kweli's man. That's his homie.
Oh.
Tried threatening me. We ended up on the phone because I said, "Oh, yeah?" Because he was like a D-set back in the day. But dude, you like a 50-year-old man. That's what I said to him on Twitter. I said, "You think you're going to cut me?" I was like, "You're fucking bugging. I know you're out here trying to live out your glory days again, but you're going to fucking have a rude awakening." Me and him ended up talking. He tried to piece things out, Seth. But Kweli he's just a dishonorable piece of shit.
So there's no way of you guys squashing it, you and Kweli?
I don't know. That would be on him. Me, I'm easy going, dude. I'm getting old, man. I'm easy. You know? I'm easy. I'd probably be like, "You're a douchebag, but whatever." You know? Like, I don't know. You got any whiskey or something you want to share while we could talk about this? It would be easy, but I don't think he's as easy going.
I got the phone number to Celebrity Boxing if you guys want to.
Oh, he doesn't want to do that. That would be terrible. I'd feel bad about that.
You can make a little money out of it.
I mean, there was a couple plots that could have come where he could have got caught very easily. Like, he doesn't know how close he was to getting smacked around, but I'm a reasonable man. I never thought it would be good for, like, especially in the political climate we were in. And it's really on him because of the narratives he was spinning about these Nazis and this and that. And, I didn't think it would be a good look to go beat up the super pro-black Talib Kweli when he's calling me a Nazi. And because, dude, Kweli's not a tough guy, man. He's not. He talks wild to people sometimes when people are around. I've seen videos of it. He talks wild, but he's not. I would pulverize Kweli in 2 seconds. I would pulverize him. And it would be a bad look. It would just be a bad look. It would be a bad look because he'd have to get stitched up and go on knowing that he got beat up and explain to his kids how he got beat up and maybe show up where, I don't know, he's got kids, he's got children. You got to show up to dinner with a swollen eye. You know what I mean? Like, as you get older, you start thinking about these things, where I'm like, there are repercussions to things I do, and then, you can go even further, being that Kweli is not the utmost fighter or anything like that. Not that I am. I'm just willing to go. Say I fucking rock him, he falls down and hits his head and he's fucking dead. Then I'm in prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are things that can happen. It has happened to people, and I'm like looking at it like, that's a really bad look. That's a really bad look if something really bad happens. And I'm like, is it really worth that? Is it?
No.
To beat up Kweli, like to beat up Talib Kweli, like people look at me and look at Kweli and expect me to win. Simple as that. It's that they expect me to beat up Kweli. So it's like, you don't get no fucking props. Oh, you beat up Kweli? You're a real cool guy. Fucking asshole,
But let me ask you this. Why did you have to take shots at Mos Def for? Talking
Why
about
not?
his kids.
I just made a punchline out of it.
I know, but that was a little wild. He wasn't involved. Come on, man.
Guilty by association.
Straight shot.
Guilty by association. Yeah, he caught a stray. You're there. It's you could. You were there. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I shot up the block.
It was cool.
Sorry.
It was good. I like it. It's not like I didn't like Kweli. Kweli wasn't my favorite artist. It's not like at this point I was seeking out Kweli records, but Kweli's done some classic shit. It was never about the music. I didn't give a shit.
Right.
It wasn't even about what they were talking about that day. I don't care about his lefty Marxist outlook on white fragility and intersectional feminism. I don't give a who cares? I laugh at that shit. I think that shit's ridiculous to begin with. I only get into it with him because I know about it and I wanted to make him look stupid on the internet when I had the opportunity and then mock him and with him, like that's all.